to the Dev and Gamer podcast with K Mega 405, the Don KTR.
Well, that's official. We're up and running now. There, Mega.
All right, let's go. Let's do it. What's happening, everybody? The Dev and the Gamer is here, and I have to put the gamer with emphasis because Xbox 448 was trying to, I guess, impede into my space. I was like, hey, bro, wanted to see if you can come on and get One Bad Mother on so we could talk about some Halo tonight. But then he wanted to make some maneuvers, talk about, I am a gamer, and I'm just like, bro, but you're not.
Man, if you have to state yourself the gamer, not really,
Yeah.
or the gamer.
Yeah, like kind of a little suspect there, but anyway.
You have to swag that swag roll when you talk about gamer.
Right. You gotta, the gamer. Anyway, what's happening, everybody? We are back. We're ready to do this. Welcome. And first off, before we get started, man, let me just go ahead and say I enjoy playing Godfall. Now, I haven't played anything heavy for, I would say,
I'm not like a certified priest. You don't have to like confess your sins to me. You know that, right?
I have to do that to the gaming Pope. I have to do that. So
okay.
Yeah, I have to give that because I haven't really been hardcore gaming and in a little bit, man, in almost a week. I've been kind of dibbling here, dibbling there, trying to get it together. But see, I do that normally when I play after I play really big games. And Elden Ring was one of the biggest. It's got to be probably a record for a single player game like that. I think I've put more hours into that than Witcher 3. So, and that's saying something.
Yeah,
so
I'll tell you what, a lot of times when I get in a party when you were playing Elden Ring, he like, what happened to Mega? I'm like, I'm sure he's fine. He's like, it's just like, dude, we have to do a health and wellness check on him. I'm like, nah, I'm sure he's an adult man. He can figure that shit out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I went out. Once I figured it out, I started getting into it, and then I just kind of lost myself. But normally I usually take a couple of days off, and then I get back to playing something else or whatever. But but I really went crazy, and then I did a second playthrough, which I normally don't do. Once I get done with a really big game, I'm kind of like,
you break it up.
But
at least that's what I do.
Well, I was thinking that, like, I played the first half, but I got to the half point in my second playthrough, and that's when I was like, Mega, put the game down. I was going on a vengeance because of the fact that I was getting my ass kicked so many times. And I was going in there wrecking shop at this point. I wanted to just take revenge on all of my enemies. And so it felt good. But then at a point I was kind of like, okay, put the game up.
Oh, we see you. We see you, Handy. We see you.
What up, Handy? And I uninstalled it. I was like, let me put it up. I'll go back and I'll finish it. I'm sure there'll be some DLC.
Oh yeah, that game's gonna get something. Yeah.
And when they bring the DLC, I'll come back and then I'll because I think I'm a level 260, I think 255 or 260. So yeah, if there's any, because there's going to be some kind of crazy update that's going to make things harder or whatever. So I'll just bump up to 300 and then just go in to try to whack everything else. But, to get my second playthrough to get a different ending. But other than that, I'm cool. I've been playing Godfall, so that's another confession. And I'm enjoying it. But I never talked bad about the game. So it really is a confession. I just said I wouldn't pay $70 for it. And I've been enjoying it for the times that I've been playing it. But, like I said, I've been kind of on a little hiatus. Now the juices are starting to flow. It took a week, but, I'm ready to get to some gaming. So what about you, brother? What's been going on with you? Have you been playing anything? What's been happening?
I've been playing with new hardware recently. So okay. That TV I talked about,
Oh, okay. I was really thinking of something else. I was going to say, I'm sorry to hear about that. I knew that there was great technology out there for those things, but I mean,
yeah, well, synthetic
no.
nipples, but
Oh,
but no, no, that new TV, the QD OLED showed up, and I was gonna like
how is it?
do a recording, do an unboxing. I'm like, man, that's not my thing. And then I'm like, man, maybe I really should have, because this thing is it's different. It's different in all the good ways. In regards to that, still only has two HDMI 2.1 ports, but two is all I need. It's all I need. I need one for my PC and one for my console, and I'm cool with that.
Oh, Samsung.
But the funny thing is, like, on the previous QLED, which wasn't a QD OLED, but their other technology. I got the top of the line version of that, and in a 55 inch in their 4K model. And what's interesting is there's something weird about that TV when you play a game that's at 30 frames per second. It just it tries to do this, like, basically fill in the frame rate sort of thing to help kind of smooth it out, sort of thing, so make it feel like it's a 60 frames per second game. But you can't turn it off. There's no way to turn off. No matter what you do in the menus, you try to just make sure it doesn't apply. It basically does some frame rate interpolation in there, and so, like, 30 frames per second games, they almost have like a judder to them. And so when I was playing Forza Motorsport, not Motorsport, but Horizon on the TV, I couldn't do the 30 frames per second mode just to even look, because it just didn't look right. It looked like garbage, and it wasn't the game, it was the way the TV was displaying 30 frames on it. But something about the refresh rate of the basically the OLED is just so much faster that doesn't happen, which is crazy. So still Samsung, so they still force some sort of frame rate interpolation on their TV. It's 30 frames per second. But it looks correct. It doesn't look juddery in regards to that. So I've been going through trying to, going back to Horizon, just seeing what the difference is on the Series X, and then and then when I'm not streaming, I play it on my PC. But it's good looking. I mean, greens never looked this lush. Reds and golds, like, reds have always looked good, I think, honestly on almost all HDR displays, even like the cheap ones. But like the real difference is when you're talking about greens, and then the blues. There's a brightness to the blue that you never seen before, because the whole thing is illuminated by a blue light, right? Behind it, and it's filtered down to the other colors, is essentially how that works, versus having different, they have different colors, but anyways, the blue light is the big pusher behind how it all works, and there's less filters to make it to do what it needs to do, essentially. And it's a different level. And I've written off, and I've written off OLEDs altogether. And I saw this in person. I'm like, it's a different game. It has almost the same brightness, just shy of the same brightness as the TV I had before, and has all the black levels, but the range of color, that full gamut that it has, it's just different league altogether. I mean, golds are another thing too. Like the yellows and golds, they almost look like they're. I mean, it sounds bizarre to say this, but it almost feels like they're floating off the screen. That's how vibrant they are. It's good. It's definitely the one I would recommend for sure. Right now, we'll see.
What size you get?
55.
Okay, so they got them at 55. Okay.
They have 55 and have a 65. And then it's like an extra 1,000, I think, for the 65. And I just don't
need is a 55. Yep.
Yeah, I don't play on 65. 55 is the right size. It's just where I
think anything bigger is more TV entertainment.
Yeah, sit on the couch and
movies.
Yeah.
So
that's how I feel about it, and I like to sit pretty close because I like to kind of immerse every single corner of the screen.
Right. And like as you see when I was turning on my television, the bright light just came on. Like so yeah.
I mean, and even
like
the new QD OLED, like just turn it on and just like say on the home screen on your Xbox. you
Mhm.
know, I have like these lights behind me to turn off my green screen, to kind of light up the green screen. The TV is almost enough to start keying out the green screen in the background. That's the level of brightness that it's got going on for it. So
That's impressive.
yeah,
That's impressive.
it's definitely, I definitely feel blessed and spoiled in every single way. And then the funny thing
Yeah.
is, I took
Mhm.
the arrangement was I'm going to take the TV that I had here and either put in the living room or in the bedroom. And so this one, my older TV went right into the living room, and the one in the living room went into the bedroom. And then, but I had a moment where I had all that racing sim stuff sitting downstairs in a
Mhm.
box. I'm like, once if I just connect it real quick.
Oh, just
Log the
yeah.
PC down there. I almost did it, but I didn't. I didn't do it. So
Man, that's funny. That is funny. That is funny. That is funny. Yeah, no, I've been talking about getting a TV for the last 3 years, and so every time it's been okay. Well, I'm going to jump on the AK scene, um, because of what this, and then I'm looking at the right pricing and things like that. Got really, really close in that December, but then everybody was telling me to hold off. Then I was told to look at the nano sales, and then I was looking at that, and then that's when I first started hearing about um, they're going to well, that they were doing a mini, which I was telling you about,
the
doing the
mini LED.
mini,
Yeah,
yeah, LED. That was the thing right there that I was looking forward to, and then of course,
they're
uh,
still
you
working
know,
on that. I think what's
yeah,
going to happen with
well,
mini LED, it's still
yeah.
going to be around, but it's going to be on bigger displays.
Yeah, well, and on top of that, I mean,
Yeah.
like, I think that Samsung is getting ready to get rid of that technology probably going forward in
Oh
the
yeah.
next couple of years.
No,
So,
this year they're done.
oh, this year is going to be the year. I know that it was
Uh,
going to get rid
yeah,
of it,
yeah,
but
yeah,
so it's this year. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So, well,
So,
this like so my previous generation of television, all the
mhm,
technology that goes into that
mhm,
QLED I had,
mhm.
um, that's done. So
Okay.
because Samsung Displays and Samsung, the company, are two different companies.
Mhm.
Well, they're technically under the same umbrella, I guess is the best way to look at it, but they operate differently. And so people that make the display technology basically from Samsung said we're done doing all that other stuff now.
Yeah, I knew I
So
saw that.
yeah, so that's going to
I
next
thought it
year,
was going
and
to be a couple
then
years.
there's a new and all OLEDs are going to get better starting next year too as well, because they're going to the blue, because there's a blue, red, and green, basically light emitted, right?
Mhm.
And they're going to a phosphorus OLED for blue. They didn't have that before. And
Mm.
supposedly that's going to make it brighter. It's one of those things, they went to phosphorus colors on the red and the green. That's what helped it with burning, but the blue is still a problem and the white's still an issue. Does that make sense?
Mm. Oh yeah, yeah.
And so with this, it doesn't have to, it basically doesn't have to crank it up as high. So there's not as much wattage going through it. And so that's the reason why they're not worried about burning. Does that make sense? On these new QD OLEDs, and then honestly, the LG stuff will get better too with the new blue phosphorus OLED. So it's gonna be interesting. It's definitely gonna get better, no
Yeah,
doubt.
no, I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm a Samsung guy, always, well, I can't say always will be because you never know. I, uh, but I just prefer my Samsungs. Every Samsung, this will be my second Samsung
Mhm.
television, and no problems, no issue. This Q90R has just been rolling for me. It's just that now it's become kind of obsolete because it doesn't do 120. So for gaming, so that's the next step. And so them going with QLED, I'm all for it now. So
Well,
it's
that's the thing
that's the goal.
too. Capture cards don't have a pass through for 120, so I haven't even been really able to
Yeah, no,
utilize that.
yeah, no,
So I'm
I got
waiting
it.
for
But I'm
that
just saying
one.
for when I'm not streaming, then that's I just want to kind of see and just play certain games like that. I mean, I'm cool with the 60, but of course, but it's more of the thing for me is just like I'm like you to a fault. It's that like I mean the newer toys I got to try to get my hands on. I just got to sometimes wait longer than others, but I
Well,
definitely will get my hands on
well,
it.
the thing is, I have an upgrade path for the house, right? So when I
Right.
upgrade, the parts of the house get my leftovers, essentially. So nothing goes to waste in regards to
Yeah.
that. So, except for when I build the movie theater room downstairs, and I'm gonna just to get a big TV, just like a 75 inch, something like that,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just slap
I
it there,
gotta
and
get,
that's just for
I gotta
watching
get my
movies.
wife the Sony. Yeah. She is definitely a Sony TV fan. I was saying like she's not a fan of the LG in there, and it's not the best brand LG, but
It's not the
she
best
just
model.
doesn't like the yeah, but she doesn't like the menu system. She just prefers the Sony system, the Sony menu. She knows it just works for her. So
Tell you
that's
what,
the
I
main thing.
almost thought about the Sony one.
Yeah,
Because
it's
Samsung
getting very
Display,
good rating.
Samsung Display sold the display to Sony, and then obviously they're
Mhm.
doing it under their own umbrella, and then Alienware is the third one as of right now.
Right.
And which is almost maybe sold me on the Sony one. Um, as it currently stands out of the box, it doesn't get nearly as bright as the Samsung one. But what's
Mhm.
interesting, it has a giant they put a heat sink on the back of the TV.
Mhm.
So I think with a future update, they're going to brighten it up as they do additional testing, essentially.
Right.
Because
Right.
Samsung knows how bright they can do it, but like I think Sony's like, well, we're going to be a little reserved when we put them out there, right? We're going to build
And
it
plus,
with
they
some.
got their own type of little technology, which that's why I think that's why VRR wasn't fully capable when when the PlayStation 5 first came out. But I think now since they've worked on it and they got it, I think it's patched and the PlayStation 5 got VR now. So
Yeah, well, and
yeah,
that TV
that's
that
positive.
I'm talking about, like I think it's going to get updates. Is what I'm saying. Like I think
Yeah, yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
they purpose overbuilt it so they can drive it to be brighter. But out of the
Mhm.
box, they kind of dumbed it down until you do additional testing, and they'll crank it up. I think is what's going on there. But I almost got it because I like the idea of the heatsink, but Samsung believes in it. They came up with the display technology, and I was able to, because of it being a new display technology, I was able to get a insurance on it. So I'm covered for 3.5, 4 years or something like that on it. So
Nice, nice. Yeah, you got to do that. Got to get these electronics as much as
it's
as much as these damn
if
things
it's an
cost. You got to
OLED
do
of
it.
any type, I mean, it's just not smart not to
Yeah,
be
you
honest with
got
you,
to
because
invest.
I've had like 4 OLEDs go out on me before. And so it was a big leap for me to go back to OLED, but I know enough of the
Mhm.
technology was different, enough things that were driving the issues before weren't part of this current technology. So we'll give it a shot. I'll be the first one to say if it's bullshit. So
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. All right, well, let's get started with the podcast.
oh
Because
yeah,
that
we're
was a
doing that.
TV. That was a TV little cast right there. Anyway, all right, so let's get to it. Let's first start off with probably the it's not the biggest story or going around, but it is one of the most interesting in the sense of the gaming space, and that was it's the whole meaning and uh the definition behind DLC. And it was crazy. I did a video. I haven't done a video in a long time, but I had to talk about it because I just thought it was really crazy that someone says that maybe a certain game looks like DLC from a game that's supposed to be coming out. There's a popular title that that should spark so much. Uh, it's gone so left. I've been paying attention to it, and then it's just gone left where people are saying other stuff, and it's gone into some crazy fanboy wars, and it's just it's odd. But other than that, so David Jaffe, he was the first person that brought God of War to the gaming fans out there,
Hmm.
and he's talked really good about
He's brought a lot of Sony titles to the forefront.
right, yeah,
So yeah.
Twisted Metal,
Mhm.
yeah, other stuff. But yeah, I mean, for me, those are the main two staples that I enjoy the most from him. But God of War, he's worked on those, and then before he all wrong, started working on this latest 2018 version of God of War, and you know how skeptical I was about it at the time, because it just didn't seem like this, you know, because God of War, as I look at it, it's kind of like an anti-hero. He's a badass. He doesn't take any shit. He just do what he does. And you know what I'm saying? But somehow, some way, it's actually to help humanity than it is to
it's a bad guy you love to hate, right?
Right.
But you know, he secretly is the hero for, you know, he's the lesser of two evils sort of situation, right? So I gotcha.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, who you gonna like? A God of War, or I mean, Kratos or Ares? I mean, so, but uh other than that, like, I mean, if you played the older God of Wars, they're more raw, they're more risque in a lot of ways, very gory.
Yeah, it's no chills gaming is what I call it.
Yeah, right. You know, um, and I love those God of Wars. And so with this new God of War, when they first were talking about it, they was, you know, he's a father and he's going to be more relaxed and be an understanding person. Like, what? Like, you know, pump the brakes here. What are you talking about? But, you know, as time goes on, you know, we already know
the softer side of Kratos.
right. And so,
okay.
then when read the whole article about like a soccer, you know, we're going to do it like a soccer game. You know, the combat is not going to be as impactful. And what are you talking about? So yeah, I already, from just what I was reading, from certain things that I've seen beforehand, I just wasn't
prior to the game, they were, I don't think the development team did a good job of explaining that game. Does that make sense? Right?
No,
So
I don't agree. I agree with that.
Yeah, it was really bad messaging on Sony Santa Monica's part. So
right, and so when the game came out, you know, again, I just was like, hey, look, man, I'm in full support for people going out and supporting the game, because the game looked absolutely beautiful. If there was one thing that the marketing was right, is they presented the game really well, and then, you know, I got it gifted, and so you know, I started playing it, and then I actually understood what, you know, where they were going for, and I really enjoyed the game. I loved the game, actually. And so I still am more impartial to the older God of Wars, just because I just like that style. But I have nothing negative to say about these about this newer God of War. So anyway, the Ragnarok is coming. Actually, from hearing from somebody today that it's looking like it's going to come out this year. Now, I mean, this has been debated if it's going to come out this year or not, but let's just say that it's going to come out this year. Well, David Jaffe, he was just talking. He gave so much appreciation and love for the game. He comes out and says this looks like more of like DLC, you know, and I totally understood what he was getting at by saying that.
You talking about the sequel after the reboot?
Yeah, the sequel after the reboot. And so basically he says that this looks like DLC, but he clarifies. He does it 3 times. He clarifies 3 times what he meant. He meant no disrespect. He kept, but it doesn't matter. It didn't matter. You know how it is. You could be doing, I mean, we've been doing this for years. And we can still clarify stuff.
You can dance around it like a sombrero, but someone's always going to take it out of context to make it fit their agenda, or you know how they took it, instead of just kind of internalize it and say, hey, you know, maybe give the benefit of the doubt that someone doesn't have ill intentions. So
right, and so basically, they went after him, PlayStation community. They had him on a podcast, and.
So is this the clip that I saw someone's like recorded something from Discord or something like that?
Well, it was actually from David Jaffe's when he posted it on Twitter, and so I picked it up off of there.
Yeah, but it was a recording of Discord, basically a Discord conversation, essentially.
Of a podcast or whatever. Okay. And the person just was just yelling at the man, like. I get it. Like, I mean, developers is no different than any other human being. I mean, Don, you know, me and you've had words before and gone at it, and
it's not my proudest moments, but you know, that's not my proudest moment feeding my friends, you know.
But the point of the matter is that, look, I mean, you know, you guys are human. We understand. That's why I'm like, you know, people got to lay off developers a little, because, you know, as me talking to a developer a lot. You know, you're human. You know what I'm saying? You got situations. We talk about our situations with our families and things like that, and all of that. And I'm like, you know, this is just any everyday person. They just are skilled at making certain parts of games. And so I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, this man give you one of the best PlayStation IPs that you've ever had on that console that you cap for, and you yell at this man with the ultimate disrespect because you didn't like his opinion. I mean, I get it. Like, everybody's passionate, and, you know, especially when we in this space. But I just didn't understand, why is it that it has to go to those levels? And then here it comes to where, you know, the fanboy other rhetoric, and people get to this point to where they feel if you say anything about anything that they don't like, then either they want to try to gaslight you or try to make it seem like I say things positive about Xbox because I'm an Xbox primary gamer.
Okay.
Well, then it's always got to be somebody. Always got to try to let you know that why Xbox is not good. And I'm like, okay, but that's not going to change anything for me. I just don't understand this whole situation. And I thought in 2018, I thought it was bad, and I thought that was the worst it was going to get. I am actually a little bit nervous about where some of this fanboy rhetoric goes, because it's not just PlayStation people. That's definitely it. I've seen some crazy ass Xbox guys and girls
there's
get
people
out there
there's
and do
people
some
that just
stuff.
take it too far.
And Nintendo. Right. There's just people go to and sometimes I don't even think that some of the people that are the worst, they are actual gamers. I think they just are, you know, because you got people that's in politics, you got people that like, you know, they fight over DC and Marvel and Samsung and Apple and it's crazy.
It's like
crazy.
it's like the people that fight over sports but don't play sports anymore. It's kind of how I look at it. Like, yeah, they were gamers at one time, right? And they're fans of it. But they don't indulge in that nearly as much as they once did. But they're still like hooked into that fandom, that passionate fandom portion of it. And so, yeah, it's strange. I mean, here's the thing. David Jaffe is not somebody I would agree with on a lot of things, right?
Right.
Me and him are cut from totally different cloths. But I will say this about the man. When it comes to his opinions in gaming, his opinions and my opinions are not much different from one another. And maybe it's because, you know, he's obviously had more success in his career than I have, right? But, you know, but when you work in the industry, you just have a different perspective on things. And I've said the same thing about the game, right? And to be clear, this is the God of War that I am interested in playing. I'm not interested in playing the one that came on the PS4 because, well, I could not stand that kid that was your co-pilot through the whole entire game. I couldn't do it. I tried it, couldn't do it. But this one, since the kid's a little bit more grown up, and I like the setting, I like what they're, you know, maturing the story of the character and all that sort of stuff, give it a little more depth to it. I'm excited about this God of War. But I'll be honest with you, I said the same thing. You and me have talked about this several times. We're like, yeah, I'm sure it'll be a good game, but it doesn't look like anything amazing. Does that make sense? It doesn't look bad, but it doesn't.
It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look right.
Yeah,
like,
but it's not go. It doesn't like you watch and go, man, I got to tell my friend about this game, right? You know, it's just not that level, right? You know, it's kind of been there and done that, and I said it looked like DLC before. You've confirmed that. You've been in parties when I've said that's what the game looks like to me. But what I mean by that is it feels and looks like they're the same shaders, literally the same quality level on the textures, the lighting, everything looks the same. I'm sure there's something that's been improved. It may not translate over video, but it's not obvious. Does that make sense? And so that's the way I look at, like, you know, DLC. Like, I can take the last two Assassin's Creeds, there was a visual difference. There's different textures, different materials, different characters, different animations across the board. Like, there's more different than there is stuff the same. Even though it's running on the same engines, there are things that are improving. The world's bigger. You know, there's all these different things that are just, you have a laundry list that sticks out to you, right? On that game, it doesn't stand. Like, I even have to, like, is that the same character model for Kratos? I know the son's different, but is that the same character model for Kratos? I don't know. So that's just kind of where it's at. And it doesn't mean it's a bad game. Doesn't mean I won't play it. But it is an unfortunate that someone can take an observation and just can't speak their mind. You don't disagree with someone. Just let people speak their mind. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't think you can validate your opinion if you don't allow opposition to be out there. Does that make sense?
Right.
So
and that's
the
the
part
part that bothers me. Yeah, no, and that's the problem that bothers me is like, it's this man's opinion. It's okay. It's not, you don't have to agree with it, but it's his opinion. Have a civil discussion and of why you don't believe that. But I understood what Jaffe was saying. Like, I got it. Like you said, like, my point of what I said was, I could see, I understand this point, because when you look at Horizon Zero Dawn, and then you look at Horizon Forbidden West, there is a substantial difference.
The character looks different. It's a different model, different textures. Right. They may share some, like, there were some jokes, people going around trying to, like, have that gotcha moments with what the game was saying. It recycles the same animations, that sort of thing. But, one or two animations, you can't fault a whole entire game for that. I mean, it doesn't work. Doesn't work like that. But I mean, 90% of that game is a totally different game from everything you can tell on the surface. So.
Right, and that's probably what you're going to see for sure in Ragnarok, is that the combat's going to be upgraded, and you'll be doing some more cooler things. And of course, Atreus, his son, I'm going to try to butcher his name right now.
Yeah, he's supposed to be Loki.
Yeah, Loki.
Yeah.
But I guess people who
it's been around for a while.
Yeah, it's been around.
Hey, listen here. When you can play the game on PC, you can talk about the spoilers at this point. So,
agreed. Okay, all right. So that's thing too. So yeah. So basically, he's going to have some better combat, and that's why you're going to see the difference of the game. And of course, there'll be different locations. It's still within the same location overall, but you'll be going different places that you haven't seen in the last game.
Yeah.
Yes. So the game doesn't look graphically enhanced like Horizon Forbidden West. It just doesn't, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, because the game graphically looks fantastic. It's just that the point of it's just that it's like, some people just want a win so bad, and they want people to make just to say things how they want them to say it, and to go off like that, it's just nutty to me. And it's just kind of like with the whole Starfield thing. Like I try to tell certain gamers out there, Xbox gamers, like, look, man, wait till we see something first. Let's not keep talking about Starfield until we see something. I think because the industry is talking about it, it's going to definitely be a good game. But if this game's got Fallout 76 graphics, then you're going to be looking kind of crazy, because everybody's expecting this game to look the best that it's ever been. Everybody's expecting this game to be one of the best stories ever made, and all of this. Like,
I think gamers and both developers do this stuff to themselves. To be honest with you, I mean, developers do it too. Like,
right. They overhype things.
Well, not even behind the scenes, right? Like, so some artists, I work on something, and in my mind, it's this, and where I land is maybe somewhere like this, right? And then as I massage it at, the work that I'm doing, it ends up being a little bit more than I expect. And then I get hyped and talk about that. Like, I think seeing is believing with games. And this is why, like, I've always been a big advocate of show a game when it's closer to launch. Don't show shit early. Like, don't do that. Like, there's multiple things that can go wrong for that, right? Maybe they're recycling old assets for what they were developing at the time, and those assets will be replaced, and it'll look totally significantly better. Like, that's a total possibility in regards to that. It's not that hard to change a shader or a new material they come up with to apply to to a polygon model, right? And it
Right.
really can change the atmosphere. Or they use their old lighting engine, but once the new lighting engine's ready, it'll be ready by launch, and then next thing you know, you have a significantly more noticeable, better looking game that shows up on all materials, the whole entire atmosphere. There's a lot of things that could change. Now, usually in early production, they shoot for like the really high, like, visual concept of a game. And then they have to find ways to optimize it without making it that overly noticeable, essentially to run on the current piece of hardware for whatever targets they have. But it's just wait for the game to come out. I'm excited to play it, and as a current status, it does look like DLC. That's helpful information for the studio, and part of them probably is already thinking it themselves. They're not saying it out loud to the public, right? They may be saying, "Man, we need to do something," right? And you're like, "No, it's fine." And they're like, there'll be certain segments, and then that studio say it's just fine, and then it'd be like, no, it looks like we need to step it up in some sort of form or fashion. And these sort of conversations I think are helpful in regards to that. So, but it's only helpful when it's like a critical thing that someone can articulate in a way, and not just being an angry fan or a pro fan. That doesn't really help things in regards to that. So and it's not just one person. I mean, it takes multiple people that come to the same conclusion in different ways, and that's when people start listening. It's when you're level-headed. Like, if you're going off on someone else because you don't like their opinion, guess what?
They stop listening.
Most developers are just going to shut. Like, you do that normally as a human, right? Like when someone's yelling at you, like you've ever worked retail, right? And someone's yelling at you, and it's nothing that you did wrong, right? But they're just taking it out on you. Are you going to? I mean, like, you're just not going to care. You're going to do your job, right? But you're not going to care in that situation. And so, so you want developers to care because they do want to entertain at the end of the day. And, someone's opinion should never ruin your experience of a game you're excited for. Like, that's just the harsh reality. Like, one of my favorite games of last gen was Crackdown. Yeah. And you know what? That wasn't very well received. Guess what? I liked it. I don't give a shit what other people thought about that game.
Facts. I mean, you know how I was about Bleeding Edge, and I still love Bleeding Edge, right? So,
I don't need validation from other gamers. I would like to share my experience and with other gamers, and I can tell people we've had podcasts like Rand. I think he had an awful take on that game, but I still have respect for him. It's still has no reason to yell at the man, right? And I also understand he comes from a different place than I do, right? Like, I don't go chasing after gamer score. I'm not methodical like that. I just want to play the game how the developer intended and just kind of go through that journey, because sometimes I see all the seams and flaws in games everywhere. You know what I mean? And, sometimes I just want to get lost in the experience myself, so. Yeah. Looking forward to the game. I'm probably going to play it on PC, the way things are going, when it eventually gets ported over. But I do look forward to when that day comes. So.
Right, and that definitely is kind of like in the same boat, unless I come up with a PlayStation 5. But if I do, I mean, look, if I have a chance to get my television, then I'm going to get that first, and then I'll get a PlayStation 5 later. But I just look at it from my standpoint. It's like, look, I'm excited for gamers who are excited for games. I don't go into people. I look at people's feeds and they talk about certain things that I do not even care about, and game wise. And then I don't, but I see the excitement. I might go through and look and read some of the comments, and I'm looking at it and I'm seeing these people excited about this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? That's what it's all about. I don't feel like I have to come in and say, you know what? I don't think that this game is going to be, I've never been that way. I'm like, why would you want to take other people's joy away by giving an opinion that is completely on the other side?
Or why not just enjoy the joy they have? Like,
that's
for the product,
right? Like they're excited. That's amazing.
I mean, sharing that, like, for example, the last time I've gone to a GameStop, and you know how much I'm not a huge fan of the GameStops, right? Right. It was when the Xbox One S, the Slim, showed up at GameStop, and I think he showed up like on the day Madden showed up. Does that make sense? So I was waiting, like doing the midnight launching, waiting for it, and a bunch of people. I don't play Madden. You know, I don't play Madden, right? And I was hanging out on the line, and some of the coolest gamers are Madden gamers. There's no doubt in my mind. They're
absolutely
secretly they're my brother from another mother, man. they just are. Like, I mean, they were ordering pizza, chicken wings, you know. People are just running around screaming. It was like I was at a football game. It was great. I'm like, I mean, and they're all there for, I mean, people are just there for different things. I was just there to pick up the console. I wasn't there to pick up the game and stuff like that. But, you know, in real reality, they're just there to enjoy it, and they'd rather have more people enjoy it with them. And I wasn't going to ruin that joy for them. I'm not going to say, oh, I hate Madden or anything like that. It's not a game I play. So, you know, when you take that simple stance, and when someone can be like, okay, I get it, respect you, but, you know, and just have a conversation why they like the product, man, how great of a time that was. Like, that's one of my last best GameStop experiences in local retail. And, you know, then again, it's like one of those things, like with the last like YouTube video I posted, you know, it's all about the people you want to surround yourself, the people you want to cultivate, right? And if you want to cultivate a certain audience, you can cultivate a certain audience. I mean, the reality is David Jaffe can block all those people, mute them on Twitter, and go about his business, and they'll stop talking about him, because the reality is he'll stop feeling the need to engage in them, right? And set the record straight, and he can just go about his business. And guess what? He'll continue to grow, and you'll cultivate the audience he wants to cultivate in that situation. So, I mean, that's just a harsh reality. Sometimes, you know, some people you just got to cut them loose. I mean, and move on.
I in this point of view, I think that like I think that me and Jaffe has the same type of thought process. Like, you know, because I was getting asked all the time, not as much as I used to, like, why you don't block these people? Why you don't do this, like that, do that, or whatever? And it's just more of the things like, look, man, I'm not, even though they can go extra left or whatever, but they don't bother me to that degree to where they make my life a living hell. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or I feel like you know, like they can take it as personal as they want to. I mean, God, know that they have. But it's not going to stop me from being motivated to do what I want to do or say what I want to say. And I like that about Jaffe, because it doesn't matter. Like, me and Jaffe's had words on Twitter before, and I could have easily blocked him. He could have easily blocked me, but that wasn't what the case was. It was just like we had a difference of opinion in something, and that was it. And I have no problem with that. I respect that. So, I mean, it's okay to be challenged. It's just another thing when people are doing this for brownie points, or for people are doing this to.
There's a difference when you see certain people that are
totally disrespectful.
Yeah, there's a line, right? There's a line where people do it for street cred, or they emotionally take it too far, and that sort of thing. And if they are that sort of person, maybe the most humane thing to do is mute them, is block them. And the reason why I say that is, if you stop feeding them, they stop acting out.
Oh yeah.
Does that make sense? So if you can
I'll just ignore them. I'll still see comments.
Yeah.
And then I won't even.
And that's fine.
Like, oh, here you go.
And that's fine. Cool. And if you can do that and not have it affect you, or feel like you have to speak out against them, then you're fine. But if the temptation is always, and it changes you to a certain degree, then do the right thing for you. Is my view, and leave alone. Because if you stop feeding into them, people are driven by how many thumbs up they get on a tweet, right? There's people that get depressed if no one likes what they tweeted out there. Right. You know what I mean? So the best thing you can do.
Attention is the new currency.
Man, that's
a fact.
Yeah, the best thing you can do is just make them irrelevant by just not engaging in them, and you know, and that does so much. So I mean, that's just kind of my take on it in regards to that. So, you know. Then again, everyone's going to have a different approach on that. I respect David Jaffe's opinions, even if I don't agree with them in regards to that. And most of the gaming stuff, I think we, you know, sometimes we come from totally different angles on it, but we come to the same conclusion on things sometimes in regards to that. So it's good. I mean, it's, you know, what's weird is gamers don't realize that you have a world where a developer that has the pedigree of Jaffe out there, you get to peek into his mind as a developer. Think about that right now.
Right.
There's no time in history that you didn't have. I mean, like us growing up, like when he was making games and I was dreaming of it. Right.
Right.
I got this like filter thing that went through, PR team that went through a magazine, like I didn't get the raw of his raw look on something. So if it's something, that raw unfiltered look, I think that's important. I think gamers can gain a lot from that. And,
right.
And that understanding also, you create a more respectful conversation back and forth. Because I personally feel, and there's a reason why I still do this stuff, but there's too much of a barrier between developers and gamers. And a lot of these misunderstandings, a lot of this, like, I would say, gaming immaturity that's out there, it's driven, I mean, in some ways, the development community they cultivated this by not having the conversation. Does that make sense? Not having the touch conversation. Sometimes people are going to take it incorrectly. But that's the, publishers were very gun shy about it. In regards to studios were very gun shy about it because it could affect the sales of a game. But I think it's time for those hard conversations to happen in a respectful manner, in regards to that. So, I mean, hopefully I would say Jaffe doesn't let it get the best of him. I think he brushed it off and, said what he had to say and set the record straight.
Well, I hope so.
So.
I hope so. So, but yeah, no, I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, and just say my piece as well. I just think that we had a point, and you said it perfectly. Like, we've never been in a position as fans of gaming to talk with people that, knows that bakes the cookies, you know what I'm saying, or that owns the companies to the cookies, to the cookie makers and all that. Like, we're at a really great time in as gamers, and it's sad that some people want to squander it because they want to be so quote unquote internet hard, and that's just not how it works. And at the end of the day, what will happen? I'm talking like Crispy now. That
shout out to Crispy.
Shout out to Crispy. But at the end of the day, what will happen was that, and it's already starting to happen. They'll just ignore you, and then when you really want to have a real true conversation about something that you are looking forward to, or something that you want, or maybe that there's an idea within a game that you might have that is really, really, really good, that they might look into putting into that game because they know that you're a fan, they're not going to pay attention to you no more because
they're just not tuning in. Like, I'll tell you right now, a lot of the podcasts, I mean, these are people I consider friend. I would game on Xbox Live or PlayStation Network or, through Steam. Like, I would play games with them, but I don't tune in to their podcasts anymore for opinions. Like, it just doesn't happen. And I know that sounds like I'm being harsh, but like, it's the same conversations over and over again and the same bickering fighting points over and over again. Like, okay, it's already established how you feel about these things. Like, I get it. I don't need, it's like back on cable television when we had reruns. You know what I mean? I hated when reruns came around, and I feel like that's where we're at with podcasts and everything else that's around there. And it's not more in-depth conversations. It's unfortunate. So
yeah, everybody is doing podcasts, and so it's just oversaturated with everybody having the same talking points, and that's and that's fine, but it's just like, can we kind of get back to what we got into doing this for, instead of always trying to do shock and awe or trying to make everything a TMZ situation. So
yeah, I want gamers that show respect to one another, regardless of a difference of opinions. I want people to justify their opinion by just stating why you like something, right? Like, state the facts, what, when, where, and why. Like, state those sort of things, and then to be frank with you, have some insight, right? Have some insight, put some work into it. Don't be lazy about it, right? Don't just do it from the surface. Like, I mean, developers can tell if your knowledge base of game development is from like the early 2000s or late 90s, or if you're current, if you understand what's going on. And so if you understand what's going on, and you can be respectful and you can articulate and you can say why you like something and pros and cons and show respect to the other side. I am all about, I will tune into that 24/7 every day when I'm making my own games or working on, anything that's a contract work for somebody else. But if it's what a lot of people have been doing now, like I don't listen. I don't even suggest it. Right. Like that's the thing. It's like, I just don't tune in. So.
Yeah, gotcha. All right. So speaking of that, now we're going to be a little objective about our favorite one of our favorite franchises. So I guess that is Halo. But now I'm going to have some things to say.
Where are you at right now?
All right.
Where are you at? Because I'm
okay. Because I wanted One Bad Mother to come and give their thoughts. I mean, One Bad Mother came on GRG Friday, and he was giving his thoughts about what we were discussing. And so I'm going to ask you the same thing. Like, we know that the new content is coming. So do you feel that this will this content be enough to get gamers through until season 3? Or do you feel that this is just only a bite size and we'll get right back to where gamers are going to start feeling frustrated again because they won't have enough content to make it to season 3?
It's not just content's the problem though. Like desyncing is still a major issue. That's your everyday interaction with the game. Does that make sense?
I haven't played Halo in a couple of months.
Yeah, sometimes it's been better, but it's still not right. Does that make sense? And that's what makes it frustrating. Like I don't want to just like a freebie win because I'm in sync with the game and someone else isn't. Does that make sense? Right? Like I see him on the map before the other one sees it because he's, not synchronized. And so desync is a real issue. That is like one of those root things. They have to get it dialed. They have to fix it and they have to get it fixed right away. Like that's a fundamental, right? Because if someone goes to say log into season 2 or season 3 and they're still having desync issues and they don't know why they're dying, right? Then why would they even give a shit about anything they released? You get what I'm saying? Like when the moment experience is not good.
I'm hearing you.
That's the fundamental thing. So they have to get that spot on before anything else is released. Because once you kind of get that and you get the more fair matches across the board, better matchmaking.
Well, I mean, May 3rd. I mean, it's May 3rd or May 6th. It's rolling. So hopefully that they got this already ready to go, because I mean they've already gave the date. It's already set.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I mean, it's just maps, right? It's just maps and a couple skins, right? Like I think the skins already are on the game. If my information's correct, it's already on the game. You just don't have access to.
You're gonna make me boot it up.
Well, you can't. You don't have access to it. It's just
I'm just saying, just to see if the skins is there. So if you don't have
they're there. You can't have access to them. That's what I'm saying. Like they're on the file. Thank you for the bits. I appreciate it. NYT music.
What up, music, man? It's been a minute. What's happening, brother? It's been a minute.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
The moment experience has to be dialed in. They have to get that right. And then they can start cranking on the faucet with everything else that's going on, right? They can start introducing new maps. They can start introducing new modes. They can start introducing all that sort of stuff. Because that way, once you entice someone, say, hey, got this new map, got these new skins, and if you're like, you know what, I'll go boot up Halo again, and everything is a good experience, it makes them want to come back. Does that make sense? That moment to moment is so key in regards to that. So then they have to work on depth and they have to work on content. I don't think there's enough content in this. Like if they took the same amount of time as they did between season 1 and season 2, which they're kind of dodgy on when season 3 is going to come out, and which is not, to me, is not a good sign in regards to that, because it puts doubts, I think, in the gamer's mind. of where they're going to be at. I mean, they may do it in the shorter time frame they were hoping for, but I don't think. I mean, there's a good possibility they may not land on that, and so, and I don't. I used to say, well, not until season 3 we'll get what I call content complete on a Halo game, which is basically what's already been pre-established on Halo games as a launch product. We're going to probably see that in season 3. I'm starting to think we're not going to see it till next year until season 4. Oof. That's where I'm at. I mean, we'll get piecemealed here and there. We'll get our co-op campaign maybe in season 2. We'll see. Like they're being dodgy about that, but they're kind of roughly saying it, but they're saying it's not going to be at launch, but they're not saying when. So it's just like, I don't know. Here's the thing: there's so much talent at 343. Like I have a lot of respect for them. I'm starting to have no respect for any of the leadership there. I think they suck. I'm just gonna call it out. They suck at their job. On so many levels, and then again, I'm still on the outside looking in, but as somebody who works within the development community, like I get it, like an 8% window of what's going on over there, and things are not adding up, and it's not the talent, right? It's leadership, and that's what it really comes right down to it. And they weren't ready to release this game. That's just the harsh reality. They weren't ready to release the game. And, you're going to sell the whole community on a different type of game, like games as a service. You gotta be ready. You gotta be ready because it's a big switch for that community.
It's what I said about like with PlayStation jumping into this space that Xbox has already mastered is basically this, kind of like the games like Halo, Gears, they Forza, what they can do with implementing online within a single player game, and they make it work seamlessly. And then you got, just how the infrastructure from Xbox and how it's already built for just online gaming. PlayStation had to work themselves into that, and we'll see what they'll do with their games as a service coming up here. I think Bungie's going to have a lot to do with helping them. But
I mean,
Xbox is definitely in a position right now.
If this game wasn't Halo,
they don't know how to do.
If this game wasn't Halo,
free to play type of
game,
it
would fail.
The way
it was released, it would fail. As a game as a service, and that's the harsh reality. There are games.
I would agree with you on that.
There are games as service games that are good games. Mm-hmm. They don't make it. They just don't make it in this condition. Anthem? Yeah. Anthem's gameplay was phenomenal. But the structure was a mess.
I loved it.
Right? And they didn't have enough content, so people didn't start coming back for it.
Yeah. And then when they brought content, it was absolutely.
And then linking up with players became an issue and all sorts of stuff. And so the interest died before they were able to get the additional content out. That's the harsh reality. And this is like the roadmap. What happens with the games as a service games, if you have a good game, people like it, right? But it's not perfect. There's only so much of a window of forgiveness that people are willing to give you that certain customers you just won't get back. I mean, don't get me wrong. Halo will be fine, right? In the long run. But it won't be as big as it was if they released it in the right condition.
No, that part I agree with. Because sometimes I take what you say and I think it's a little bit too harsh. But it goes back to the point of just saying that also too is when you just made that point about if this game wasn't Halo, it would be in a really bad state. It would be in a horrible state because Battlefield has been around for I don't know how long, and Battlefield is now going to be crippled, I feel, for years to come because of this debacle. And if 343 doesn't get it together with these seasons, because that's the only thing that makes me, I'm not, like you said, Halo's going to be fine. Like when I see people that, and the people that love to see that Halo is in this type of situation, I'm like, look, man, you don't understand. Like, I mean, because they want to show me that Master Chief Collection is getting more has more players playing online on Steam than they do.
Yeah, because that's
Infinite.
the few numbers you can track is through Steam,
Right,
right?
right,
So
right. But this was the thing too that they just don't want to also uh, address. Well, they're jonesing for Halo because Halo Infinite plays so damn good, and they're just like, oh, I need my fix of Halo, so I'm finna go back to this older game.
yeah,
And then they
that's
have all
part of the
this stuff.
problem, right? Because
Right, right,
they're frustrated because they want to have the Halo Infinite experience. Like
right.
there's hooks in there that they really do enjoy, and
Hmm.
that's the harsh reality that like I don't think a lot of people are being honest about
Right.
in regards to that. So yeah, that's the frustrating thing. Like, you know, we're always going to do like I'm trying to do games that are community can join me with
Hmm.
on Saturdays, and you know, I just started doing it, so like I don't expect a lot of people to kind of join up. But I did a Halo night,
Hmm.
played for 2 hours, couldn't get anybody on my friends list, anybody to play. They either, you know, some had prior obligations, things like that, but you
Yeah.
know, no one wanted to, no one cared.
Just going.
No
Nobody
one,
cares at
no
this
one
point.
cared, you know, anything like that. I got like one message. I sent like 20 different invites out there, people I know that play the game
Mhm.
regularly, and the only one person can get back is like, nah, I'm not interested. And then another, you know, I think one bad mother had something. I think he was on Tinder swiping left or right. I'm not quite sure what he was doing there.
Oh man.
but
Shout out to what that mother to tend to search her. Anyway.
yeah, he was lighting that screen on fire. Anyways,
Woo.
but yeah, I
Finding
mean,
him a lady.
yeah, we need to help that brother out, man. When
No,
it
I think he
comes,
said he was on a date. I think he went on a date not too long ago. So, I mean, but that man he works hard. He
yeah,
works hard. He needs to
he
play
does.
hard a little bit too. He needs to take a little break and play a little hard too. So
So, but yeah, I mean, even him, like he had, you know, stuff to do. Like you know how he'll drop anything he's
right,
doing.
he'll drop yeah, but
He'll let macaroni and cheese burn on the stove, basically, when he gets a Halo invite. But you know, it just didn't happen at all. I played for 2 hours. I got bored and I just shut it off.
shut it off. Right. Right.
In some reason, and then people within the studio are not good advocates for the game either. Like the community manager, he needs to find something else to do. Like he's not a good community manager. He's always set. He just can't read the room. Like he's trying to joke with people, but the same token doesn't realize it's going to set up a certain segment of the fan base. He just doesn't. I don't think he gets it. In the long run, and I think he does more damage for the franchise than he helps, especially in the condition that it's currently at right now. He keeps acting like he tries to act like buddy, like when everyone was kind of hyped for the game before it came out. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Where the fan base was all behind him, and that's not where you're at right now. And you know, I don't think he
Yeah, you
gets it.
still need to be buddy buddy. This is the best. This is the time where you need to be buddy buddy because
You need to be
yeah,
transparent. You need to be buddy. You need to be clear on your expectations in regards to.
right.
And that's the other thing too. Is like, okay, we don't have a roadmap because we just don't. Well, that means you don't know. I get you don't want to do false promises, but do a mini roadmap, right? Like,
Mhm.
okay, we're going to do this, and this. We're going to acknowledge them and get them done and get them out of the way. And leadership just doesn't got it figured out. And there, I don't know if the studio's losing more people than the industry average when it comes to people leaving. But at least
Well, no,
it
I
seems like
think
it.
that. Well,
So
I mean, because we know that the battle royale thing is definitely going to be a thing. That's going to happen.
I don't know why
That's
people
going
keep saying battle royale.
well, you're a different version of the Halo's version of battle
I
royale.
think
Let me
the game
put it
mode,
that way.
whatever they're doing, is somewhat inspired by it, but it's
Right,
not
but
that.
it's different.
Because you and I keep talking about it, it's gonna be something different than
Right.
that, right? Like, but in different what way? I don't know. I think people are just say battle royale is almost kind of a lazy way of just saying the same thing.
Well,
You know what I
because
mean?
and
So
that is right now one of the more popular shooter
yeah,
genres out there is battle royale. So you just stick that to whatever that Halo is trying to do, then that kind of gets people perked. But the one thing now, this is why it bothers me because you said this earlier and you was 100% right, was that they shouldn't release the game when they did. Um and now I was not for it, and I still wasn't for it when we were hearing the rumors about that they were going to bring they were going to separate the two, and they were going to bring the story mode or the multiplayer, whichever one they got done first, out first, and then it was going to bring whatever else second. Well, it was clear there was the multiplayer that they needed to get everything together, so they were going to probably bring that last. I still wasn't for that. I'm like, look, just bring the game, make it complete. But the biggest problem, and see, this is what all they had to do was still keep it in, still keep doing what they were doing with these updates that they were doing when they were just kind of doing the alpha tests and beta tests and things like that. That's all they had to do until we got to this month. Yeah, there would have been people that would have been bitching and complaining and saying, Halo, they failed you 343. Look, the game's not even out yet. They're going to cancel.
You're going to have negative feedback either way. So, but the question is, it's that first impression, right? Like, thinking back when you were dating, right, man? Like you only have one chance when you're dating a girl, one chance to get it right. So, now I make mistakes as a married man. My wife gives me slack because I got that goodwill built up. You know what I mean? Okay. Right. So I mean, but that's the thing is like they don't quite have that same goodwill. And here's the thing too, is like the hardcore, like they cater a big portion of this game to the diehard traditional Halo fan. And now they feel like they don't matter at all.
Exactly. Man, oh my God.
That's so right. So you have that
collection. They're over there with Master Chief Collection.
Yeah. It's so the diehard fans of a certain style of Halo have kind of moved on. Right. Kind of lingering in the shadows. Maybe they'll come back, maybe they won't. Right. You have people like myself that are a little disappointed in what they put out there as a product, because I don't feel like it's a continuation of anything I loved from the last two games. I endured more than even the previous Halos, and I like all the Halos in regards to that. Then you have the free-to-play gamers that just have moved on. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have you've
moved on Steam. There's still Halo is still top 10. It's still top 10 on Xbox.
Well, I don't know if the thing is, I don't know if the Steam numbers make 100% sense, because here's what happens. So if you do Xbox Game Pass, right? Mm-hmm. And you do Game Pass Ultimate, that allows you to have access to PC games. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. Or certain select PC games, right?
Right.
So one of the ways to do it from Game Pass Ultimate standpoint is through the Xbox app. You can't go through Steam and do it that way. Does that make sense? So I have a feeling some of those numbers have slid into the Game Pass Ultimate numbers have slid from Steam to the Xbox store. Does that make sense? So they're maybe still playing on PC, and obviously there's a dying number, but it's hard to really kind of grasp what that number is. So
right, and so that's why I'm like, but those narratives are silly, because you still know that you can still jump into a Halo game and it's still going to be full of players. But
yeah, you can't jump into 5 right now. Five's dead. You jump into 5. You jump into 5, and like maybe 1 or 2 modes may work.
But the rest
the rest are just done. You're just sitting there spinning with the wheel, and it's dead.
Really, it's time. So and I feel that this is where the perfect opportunity was, and I still think that they're going to do it. I just think that they would just so many conflicting things that was going on between people wanting to do certain things. Now we talked about that. I think we want to get the rest of the game together so we can really all break it down about management at this point, where who wanted Halo Infinite to go this certain way, to where the previous people who left wanted Halo to go another direction, stuff like that. But because I want to hear what everybody else has to say within that. But it would have been also smart if they knew that this was going to happen, that Halo was going to be behind like it. Like
they did. No, there's no way you could have released the game and not known you weren't ready for other seasons.
No. I know, that's what I'm saying. So if they knew, I'm just saying if they knew, but I'm saying they should have gave more. It would have been perfect for them to just go ahead and announce Master Chief Collection with Halo 5, and then
to tie it over, sort of
to
thing.
tie it over and still do the betas until season 2 was ready. Perfect. But because it was the anniversary, they was listening to this crowd. This would be the perfect time to drop the game and all this and all that. And then look what happened. And again, Halo is not going to go away like the dodo bird. There's some that are praying for its demise. It just won't happen, because once the content comes, the people will come back. But the question is, has there been enough damage now? Because 343 has already been it's been in the hot seat for a while, because theoretically Halo 5 was the worst Halo of all time. Whatever.
No, I mean, I don't think that really it bows them. But this, I mean, obviously,
it does. No, Don, the community, even the PlayStation hardcore. I mean, the PlayStation hardcore. The Halo hardcore had such disdain for Halo 4 and Halo 5. This is what and then you had the people who just hate Halo because Halo is one of the biggest platforms out there. I mean, one of the biggest IPs out there. They just don't like it because it's not on their platform.
The difference is, though,
it's a big combination of hot mess going on.
5 had engagement. People were actually playing it. So like so you can take that whole like narrative thing. Okay, yeah, there are certain people that feel that way. Sure, take them at their word, right? But that wasn't the majority of the people that were playing that game, right? And the reality is, no matter how hard you try,
those school. It wasn't those people that those Halo fans that wanted Bungie Halo. They weren't playing Halo 5, and they played 4. They hated 4, and then 5 was just too much for them. So they didn't play it. No, there was always people playing Halo 5. No,
yeah, I was saying. So I mean, and Halo 4's multiplayer had a hard time. It didn't quite hit the mark how they want, even though when you go back to play Halo 4, it plays awesome. To be honest with you, it plays really good. It plays really good. And almost everyone that's played it on PC is like, it's kind of like, what the hell were they talking about? Because like now they're like, this game looks beautiful. This, people love the art style. People love, people that play the multiplayer. This isn't bad, right? Like it's just the ether, the people talking. I mean, and then again, people are going to form their own opinions in regards to that. But the reality is, I don't think the numbers were 100% on their side. That's the harsh reality. And, that's just how gaming is sometimes. Sometimes, your opinion can be your opinion, but doesn't necessarily mean that represents the majority of the gaming community as a whole. So in this one, they try to please everyone. I just feel like they didn't please anyone, to be honest with you. So,
well, yeah, I don't.
At least as it stands right now, I should say.
Yeah, well, I can't. I disagree with that, because there's not one person that I talk to that doesn't love the way the game feels and plays. There's certain things that you would want that like the aesthetic. That's something me, you, and Bot definitely talk about.
Yeah, we all agree on that.
Yeah, that we all agree on that. We wish that they just did what they wanted to do in the first place. And justice, and this is perfect, because this is, you watch the gameplay of God of War. This is just going from just saying, look, we're going to do what we want to do and show you our art, do what we do, and we guarantee you, we got so much faith in what we do, you'll love it. And it worked. Yeah,
well, they closed the chapter on the old one. It's part of the story. They're not taking away from anything, right?
Right.
And they're growing the franchise to something new. And I feel like I feel like Halo needed to be like more and more, like I think about the story of it, like it was okay, but like, man, they like took such weird shortcuts, like with the whole Cortana thing. Like, okay, I guess there's this whole baddie situation where Cortana was set up, and we're just gonna retcon the whole entire damn thing. Like, why did I even play 5? Like that I don't know. I think that sort of thing, like they needed to let that play out a little bit and all that sort of stuff, and they just did it.
I think they will. I think really right now, because what you said earlier was absolutely spot on. The old Halo Bungie fans, they don't care either way. They don't they want to see this game be, they thought like, well, this is now going back to the roots. This is what they're supposed to, and then they're quick to not be excited about anything for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And now I think the 343 staff are actually starting to understand that. Like, we cater to these guys, but even at this moment, they should be out here. They should be out here telling other gamers out here, look, give 343 a chance. They listened to us. They did what we asked them to do. They gave us something. Not a peep. Nope. They're out here. They're roasting Halo Infinite just as much as haters of Halo are, and even to a point that we're roasting it. Which, you know what I'm saying, the game is not bad. It's a fantastic game, but it just doesn't have content. And so therefore, you would think that those people, because they cater to them first and foremost, that they would be out there to have 343s back, but they're nowhere to be found. And
that's what they got to manage too. Is they got to manage a community, like you got to bring the community together, and they haven't done that, right? Like that's the harsh reality. They just haven't done it.
I don't think that's ever going to happen, Don. That's the whole point of this. Is that
then Infinite's a failure in a lot of ways. I mean, because you were selling me on this just. So you're just saying, well, we want to get the old heads, we got the new fans, we want to bring them all together,
right?
And I definitely saw that same vision that you did, right? In regards to that, but I don't think they'll ever get that, right? Like, and then all this extra effort for certain people, it makes you wonder, like, what should they be chasing with Halo going forward? And that's a more difficult question to answer, right? Like, I don't have the answers for that. I don't think you do either, right? But
I don't think it's difficult at all. Do what you just need to do. Follow the path of what you do, the writing, do everything that you want to do within your vision, and put it out there.
And just don't worry about it. Just throw it to the wind.
That's the whole point. My whole point about looking at God of War from then to now. Do this with Halo. Like I mean, look, when we're looking at Halo right now, the game looks absolutely phenomenal. Story mode is just absolutely. I love the story mode. I do agree that, like, when we seen that the vision of going and picking up those different Cortanas, that would have been so amazing.
Oh, you're talking about that leak footage I sent you?
That leak footage, that would have been so amazing. But the problem is but they can still do this, right? Like, they're going to be bringing us stories, so they can just go back and then they could fill in all the spaces, show the love from Halo 4, Halo 5. Don't give a damn about what the Bungie Halo fans love, because they're not going to ever be satisfied until they got Bungie making Halo. It's not going to ever happen again. But that's where, when I was saying, like, look, they made the perfect marriage. They gave the game a feel and a look like the older Halos, and they also gave things to make the game that had for people who loved Halo 4 and Halo 5 jump in and experience and say, okay, I could do that. That's what I'm saying. Like, there had to be a middle ground. That's the combat is amazing. Now, since you see that these people aren't as committed as they act like they would have been if they got their way, and they did get their way for the most part, you just go and do what you got to do. You can sit there and start bringing in the jet boost. You can sit here and put in all this. You can put all this extra stuff, add more different content to celebrate all of every Halo, not just the first three. That to me is where the biggest problem lied. And I thought that maybe that the older heads would appreciate that, and they did at first. But now you see they run like they put their tails under their legs and run off and say, I'm going to Master Chief Collection.
Well, they almost made the situation worse because they cultivated them so much, right? Mm-hmm. And now that they want to do anything that varies off that path, that they're painted in that same corner even worse than they were before. Like, I mean, I believe they have the talent. Like, there's no doubt about it.
There's no doubt about it. Right.
You know, and I hate the self-doubt that you're just seeing from the studio, right? Like, and not willing to kind of go out there on a limb on certain things, and just, you know, you can tell the game was just played so safe. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was just less like, and then the other thing too is like, you know, it's all about content too, right? Like, you know, we're talking about like skins, we're talking about maps, and those are little things, but they make a difference. But, you know, when we're going to get co-op? When is it going to happen? I don't know. Is it E3? Are we going to get it during E3 time that's been canceled? Like, or is it going, you know, when is it going to happen? In regards, I don't want it to happen until it's ready, but, you know, I would like at least to know when to plan and make arrangements and hang out with some friends and at least have that experience, right? Like,
Right.
you know, the communicating and bond for that sort of thing. And, you know, and the, you know, co-op, you know, people say it's like, wasn't that important. It's a glue thing that has people have this shared experience where they have that first time moments one for one another that becomes memorable, right? That's sticky, right? That people have. And that's something the previous Halos have, like, you know, 1, 2, especially 3 with 4-player co-op. You know, even though 3 isn't my favorite version of Halo, it's also my most memorable though, because I had you know 3 other gamers playing for the first time co-op on a game all the way through. Like that was a totally fresh experience. I mean, that's what got me into Halo actually. Was that. So like I don't think we're gonna get content complete based on previous Halos until probably next year. I just don't see it happen. I just don't see it.
I could see. I could believe that. I can't believe that. So basically, you're just saying how? Yeah. So basically,
just hanging tight.
We'll be right back talking about. Yeah, we'll just be right back at this after the content.
But speaking of the content, though, I want to ask you this: did you get a chance to check out the trailer and kind of break it down?
I did. I watched it a few times. Been really busy, but for the most part, yeah, no, I did watch it and looked at and checked it out a few times. So
I have a theory. I think this is tied to Locke's story.
I hope it is. I could definitely see it.
You know why I say that?
Why's that?
If you look at a lot of the Spartan armor, they almost look like ODSTs. They don't look like 100% like Spartans. If that makes any sense, because they have like a chest piece strapped on, but no backpack portion of it, right? Right, like that's how an ODST would be essentially, right?
Right.
And so I think these are Spartans that survived, you know, the breakup of the ring, right? These are survivors. And that's kind of why it's called the Lone Wolf Pack, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, they show that, you know, when they came down out of that ship, they showed it like one Spartan was injured, the other was kind of carrying them under their shoulders, sort of thing. And I wouldn't be surprised one of them is Locke, to be honest with you. I'm not saying it is, but I wouldn't be surprised, you know, because it kind of falls along the lines of, because Locke was that weird, because it was a kind of a major side story when you get all those little story unlock things. There was, you know, the Commander Keys, Locke. Those were the 2 major side stories, if that makes any sense. And
well, that other side team, the team that came down, the other Spartans that came down from that one ship. I can't remember what the name of the ship was.
Yeah,
they came down, and then they all got scattered, and then all of them died. So yeah, that was
So I mean, there's obviously survivors and that sort of thing, but yeah. So this is kind of about those survivors essentially. That's what it seems like, the little story bit they're going to have with it. And I'd be kind of curious to see what the story bit is. I don't think it's like additional campaign footage. It's going to be like, hey, go to a certain area in the menu. They let it play the intro scene. You know what I mean? And, you know, you start off the new season essentially. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully that is a little bit more than that content wise. Like, give us a little backdrop. I don't want to go through a certain place here, a certain place there, and then we listen to some audio logs, and then that's it. Like, I want a little bit more.
We'll see.
But
we'll see. I don't have high expectations, to be honest with you.
Well, I know you don't. You haven't had high expectations for a while, but that's okay. I
still find myself disappointed. That's the problem.
I will still be there to say, look, man, it is going to be okay. We just gotta hold on. I mean, now, It's funny too because as I look at this, if it wasn't for Battlefield, I might be more on in your court.
Yeah.
But Battlefield was a whole different level of just pain for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I still keep giving Halo the benefit of the doubt. And because it's a free to play on top of that, and Game Pass, and the fact that it's Halo, and that I've always been a supporter of 343. Like I know that like management might be off and all these other, all of this and all of that, but I feel like and they've got a few wins, but they've been more on
They have the
the
talent.
bad
That's
side,
yeah.
yeah,
That's
than
never a
the winning
question of
side.
talent. They have it for sure.
But yeah, they have it. But yeah, I still have faith into what they're doing because I mean the product that they brought out, it made me no life this game like I did when I was playing Halo 1 or when I started getting back down to playing Halo 5. Like it just gave me everything that I'm like, yeah, yeah. And so
I mean, they did some
um
interesting things. I like the boss battles. I mean, there's it's not all
yeah,
bad. Like I like the boss
yeah.
battles.
Well, I'm just talking about the whole package overall for what they gave us at this point. Like I just got so excited. But again, as gamers and even as older gamers, our attention spans are you know what I'm saying? Like not everybody can be like Sir X-Man and keep going back to the old stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we gotta have, you know what I'm saying, we gotta have a little bit more. And the way that the way gaming is feeding us content at the level that they're doing now, um, it's it's right to criticize 343 for not having this up and running for sure. So
Yeah.
you know,
I mean,
um,
it is what it is. I mean, we'll see where it's
right.
at a year from now. In January
Yeah.
next year, or February.
Oh,
You know,
well, that sounds so far away.
well, I
Uh,
mean, it is like
it is.
I'm at the point where I'm unplugged. I'm playing other stuff, right? Like maybe I'll
Yeah.
boot it up every once in a while if if we get a good
Well,
group
see,
of people on like on a Saturday or something like
mhm,
that. But that's
mhm.
in maybe when co-op we can get together and get a crew. But till then, it's just taking up space on my hard drive. So
So bad, so bad,
yeah,
so bad.
so
Yeah, but no, I'm excited. I'm still excited. I'm excited for this. But you were still jumping in playing Halo and everything. I took the break. I said once I got
you went about
all
it
the
the better way, to be honest with you.
right, because
Yeah.
I knew that there wasn't any more extra content that was coming, and plus, like you said, the desync issues. I'm like, no, they need to go ahead and get this fixed. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start playing my single player games, and then and then of course I got caught up in the Elden Ring, and then and then I, here I am, and I'm coming back, and now you're saying, well, I don't know, I'm a little checked out, like, so it is what it
I
is,
mean,
though.
I'm sure they'll have the event where it unlocks some armors. I'll do that, whatever that special event, whatever for that
Right.
day. But it's just like going through the motions more than just like excited, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I
In,
got you. Yeah, I
in
got
regards to that, so that's kind of where it's at. And once I get my unlocks, I'll move on. I don't even know if I want to get the season pass. Like,
you.
but you see what the armor is? It's just all weird Fallout armor. It's all that weird stuff. I'm like, no, that's not.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's not the stuff I wanted. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
not
I
gonna
want to
pick
be
it up.
back on my Halo. Yeah, I'm gonna be back on my Halo kick, because I want to get the season pass done out the way, and then
It
hopefully, you know what
it
I'm
was
saying, and then
just
wait for the
weird that they
next.
did that. Like, I mean, like Recharm, I get it. The retro aspect of things, whatever. There's fans for that. I get it.
Now, I
Um,
hate that I missed out on the neon stuff because seeing gamers in there having it, I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. I hate that I missed out on
I think
that,
some of the
but
free events look better than the
I've heard you say
paid
that.
season
Yeah.
pass. Like, I mean, at least from some season one, we'll see what season two is and stuff like that. In regards to that, like, and then they are working on cross compatibility on armor cores for certain things, so they have listened to that. But that I know that's as far as the pipeline goes, that's going to take some significant work. So I don't expect that to actually even be functional until a lot later. And I'm not going to hold that against them. They should have had more armor cores. They should have had more colors available, more unlocks. Like, it's just like, what we waited until season 2. Like, you could have keep feeding that stuff now. I don't know. Like,
I know.
it's just like, I'm trying to find the silver lining. I know they'll get there. It's just not anytime soon. So
yeah, it's just the fact is that they aren't, they're still trying to learn how to do, trying to make one of their biggest, if not their biggest franchise into a free to play model, and they're still learning the process. It sucks that we gotta wait for this stuff to happen, but you could definitely tell that it's.
I just wish they, and it's here there. I just wish they delayed it. I wish they delayed it till the end of the summer. End of summer 2022. Then
I think when they got season 2,
well, they would have all their backlog. They would have had certain things ironed out. You know what I mean? And so, like, you would have shorter seasons. So, like, you'd be like, oh, okay, more stuff's coming right now, not like.
Well, yeah, no, I think if they drop when they're dropping season 2, I think if they release Halo right at May 3rd or 6th, whenever it is the season 2 dropping, I think it would be perfect because even if they didn't have co-op or Forge and all that, people could still be cool to wait. Like, all they had to do was just like I said, add Halo 5 to Master Chief.
I don't think that would have been enough.
Well, not everybody's going to be satisfied, but I think going from that.
I think season 3 would have had to be when you would have to do it because then you still.
But you're saying that season 3 is probably ain't gonna come out until 2023.
No, that's season 4.
Oh, season 4. Okay.
So what I'm saying is no matter if you released around season 2 or season 3 or season 1 timeframe, either one of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
The game still wouldn't have been content complete. Just that's the harsh reality. But if you released around season 3, you would have at least had a backlog in your back burner. So you give people the taste, then they don't have to wait too long for the next season, right? Then they have the next season after that. Like, everything is just, and then if they have hiccups, so change of staff, that sort of thing, they make those corrections before the next season happens, and it's like a steady flow of content. Does that make sense? And they're probably, if it waited that long, they wouldn't probably have the desync issues, right? Who knows if they would have had co-op available back then or not, or around then or not. Well, only time will tell. But you get where I'm going with that. Like, it just needed more meat on the bone when it released, and then more backlog ready to go. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I got what you're saying, but gamers would not have been. I understand, and I'm saying the same thing over again, that gamers are never going to be satisfied with whatever outcome is going to happen. But I feel that if you drop it here in the first quarter, then gamers will be content until time the season 3 and season 4 drops.
So you think you would retain more customers if they released it now versus around season 3?
Because if you still have gamers still keep playing the beta throughout when they throughout from when we've been playing it till now, then people would have still been Jones, like, I can't wait. And because we only would have had bite size. We only would have been had it for 2 or 3, for a week. And then
2 or 3 weeks of the beta, and then you had to wait. Yeah. But it's just, I guess the way I'm looking at it is just all the nuts and bolts of the game are just not ready. So, like, I feel like you have to have those moment-to-moment things dialed in. Perfect.
I get that,
you have to have those perfect, so people have a reason to keep coming back.
Ahead of schedule, though, if they would have been ahead of schedule if they didn't have the game already out now. You see what I'm saying? They still wouldn't have Forge, but they could have had co-op ready if they were released Halo Infinite when season 2 drops.
Why do you say that?
Okay, because all right.
I'm trying to understand where you're coming from, because I don't see it. So
okay, all right. So basically, what I'm saying is that during this time, while they're just letting us play the betas of Halo Infinite from when we started playing it from the summer of last year to this point, like let's just say like they would give us one more beta,
like a bite-sized sample, like in February or something like that. Is what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So like, hey,
And
we're gonna do the beta again for 2 weeks, and it's gonna be big team battle and this new map or whatever, right?
Yeah. Let people see that what new map it was and things like that. Let people get, and the hype would even been more. It would still been sustainable. Then by the time I think the developers would have had even because of the holiday, they wouldn't have had to worry about the crazy shit that happened this past holiday. They would have been in a better position to probably rev up development, and they could probably be ahead of schedule and have at least one of those things that's going to be in season 3 that could be in season 2. I don't know which one, but I would think that they would probably have something available. And then when the game actually drops on at this date, then by the time that we get to season 3, people are content because we still have enough content. Because really, what you have is two seasons. Because you can still have the original season that we had. Then you got the free stuff that they've included, and then you can go ahead and then have the second season already probably at the middle of the year, to the year, and then season 3 will be kicking in probably at the end of the year. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the only thing I see, like maybe the staff would have stayed longer because the game wasn't released yet.
Right.
In regards to that. So you would have maybe a little more extra manpower for that period of time. And there's that possibility in regards to because people want to stay long enough for their bonuses and all that sort of stuff. But there still would have been people that their contracts up. The question is they've already signed with another studio to do another project, right? So they would have still had a big chunk of their staff leaving, right? Because sometimes like, okay, my portion is done and my new plans, I have to make new plans because I don't know what's going on, right? So, I don't think they would have been that ahead this time. It would have been a little bit better, I think, because they would have retained some employees. Does that make sense? But I just don't think they would have been that ready state that you're thinking of until later. That's just kind of where I think they're at.
I got you. So I got you, and it could have been, but I just think that it would have been better if we both agree that the game was delayed. It would be in a better. It would be way
better state. The question is how much. The question is how much do you delay it, right? Right.
You're saying summer. I'm saying like first quarter.
I'm just looking at it from like prepare for the worst. That's what you do in development, right? You prepare for the worst, right? So if you waited that long, you would have more things ready for launch. So that would always give you more goodwill, right?
Right. Yeah.
You're able to release seasons along the pace that you were looking to do, right? Or maybe even had 2 seasons in backlog, and when you start to have some negative aspects, maybe you can drop a season a little bit earlier, right? Like keep that goodwill going, keep that momentum going. See where I'm going with that?
Right.
In regards to that, and then you get into then you have hardships or whatever going into the next season, because that happens with games as a service games. Sometimes it's hard from season to season in regards to that, but you'd be more prepared in regards to that. I know the only people that really wouldn't have gone for that is probably the people paying the bills for 343. If that makes sense, it's like you want to work how long and not bring any revenue in. So that's the only thing I can see is the problem with that sort of plan, both yours or mine. In regards to that, I think that's the reason why we got what we got. In regards to that, and that's why they were so aggressive on the store front. I think they delayed a lot, and they needed to generate some revenue from the game because the game wasn't generating revenue. So, but they sold themselves short. I mean, that's just what it is. So I look forward to skins I want to play. And then I really look forward to maybe season 4 as, in regards to that, because that's when I feel like Halo will finally hit its stride, whatever it's going to be. So.
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, no doubt. All right. Moving on. Let's get into some Sega news. Okay, so this was pretty interesting. Okay, so Sega is developing big budget reboots of Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio in pursuit of global hits like Epic Games' popular Fortnite, according to a Bloomberg report. And anyway, this is the two titles, which could be released in 2 to 3 years, would be the first entries in the Super Game initiative announced by Sega in May of 2021. And this is pretty good news, I think. I mean, this I think this is one of those things where, for me, where I when I was bringing up things about this whole negotiation between Microsoft and Sega, a lot of it, a lot of people were thinking that there wouldn't be things to come out of this. But of course, we found out that they were going to be working on these super games, but we didn't know what these games were going to be. But if they're going to try to
we still don't know the full details of what those negotiations are, to be honest with you. So
right. But we do know that these two games are coming, and these are two of the super games. So what I'm thinking from my perspective is that and there's something else I'm going to add to it after I hear what your thoughts of this is, but is that I think Sega is really trying to make a point to try to push. So, and I think also Xbox has talked to them as like, look, man, there's a fan base for these games, and if you sit there and you do it, and of course Sega is going to do it the way that they want to do it, like I'm pretty sure, microtransactions, things like that. But I don't know. I'm pretty stoked about Jet Set Radio. I like Crazy Taxi, but if we're talking about a big budget game,
I don't know how you make a Crazy Taxi game into like a big AAA budget game, going forward.
I know that's kind of crazy.
Right. Like, what do you do to make Grand Theft Taxi? Like, what do you do? Like, in regards to that. So
yeah, a big, huge world, and a lot of, of course, a lot of customizations. Yeah,
I mean, that was a fun game, but it was a fun little fetch quest arcade racer game. In regards to that back in the day, and it's not knocking on it. I mean, it was. I played the crap out of it, on the Dreamcast when it came out, right? But I don't know how that holds up today. What you would do, like a new iteration to that game. So that one's hard to picture. Jet Set Radio, it's easier to picture what you can do in regards to that with just the modern day capabilities and that sort of thing. But they have very beloved IP, right? Like as a third party, I think about it from an IP perspective. They have some of the more beloved characters. I mean, the only other company I would say it compares from a third party perspective is maybe Capcom, right? Like, and you remember they used, a lot of those franchises used to be first party IP back in the day, right? And so they competed with the likes of Nintendo back in the day. So they definitely have the IP. I just wondering what the talent is behind the studios, how they're going to ramp that up. And what their grand vision is. But, I'm always rooting for more games and better games, and let's see what you can bring to the table. So I say go for it.
Right. Now there's a little nugget here too that was announced in September, and I found this little nugget last night through the Sega Japanese site, and thank goodness to translate.
Google Translate.
Google Translate. So it says right here, last November, Sega Sammy HD agreed to pursue a strategic alliance with Microsoft. In the future, there is a possibility that the title of Sega Sammy HD will be added to Microsoft Game Service Xbox Game Pass that utilizes the cloud platform. And I mean, thinking of that, which is, of course, we know that they're going to be working on that, but is there a possibility that you think that we could actually, because it's been rumored for so many years, about 6 years now, that older Dreamcast games, which we have seen a few, but we're talking about more of them, could be coming to the Xbox and maybe be presented through Game Pass? Do you think that that's a possibility?
Why would you stop at Dreamcast?
Well, that's right.
I mean, you can go back to Genesis, Sega CD games.
Yep, You're right. You're
Yeah.
right.
They
You're
have
right.
they have the pedigree, right? And
You're right.
what if Microsoft came with an emulator that they're happy with?
Because Nintendo has got
And
got the emulator for Sega, and they have a lot of Sega CD, not Sega CD, but Sega Genesis games through Nintendo service
well, you
now.
remember Phil Spencer talking about emulators?
Mm-hmm.
See where I'm going with that thought
Yeah.
process? So
Let's go.
yeah, so I don't know. I'm curious about what is that partnership. I know it's a big deal, whatever that partnership is for Microsoft and Sega. But I don't understand the framework of what it is, right? And it almost fell out of the news, right? Like Microsoft buy all these big studios, right? Out of nowhere, and you have them buying Activision, and I wouldn't be surprised that Activision deal closes by the end of the summer. But
I agree with you 100%. Like
yeah, I think it's
people are
closer than
panic
people
mode.
realize it.
Oh,
I know people get worried about all the politics stuff regarding
mhm.
it, but guess what? That happens with every major buyout. Those questions happen.
Every
Yeah,
right.
and the majority of the time, like that stuff just goes through. Less,
That's right. We haven't talked about that yet.
yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead if you want to kind of,
No, I think that's gonna go through. I don't. There's no doubt in my mind that it's gonna
Oh
go
yeah,
through.
me too. Me
I
too.
mean, unless it's some totally unperceived thing, but all the signs show that it's gonna go
Oh
through.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, just this week they were trying to have hearings because of something between Kotick and I think some kind of information that was supposed to some kind of sharing that wasn't supposed to be going on or whatever. But that got canceled because, like they've said in the article, like there was laws that's in place that nobody can actually go after because Bobby Kotick is really he's claimed to be the boss right now, but really everybody knows that Microsoft is in charge.
he's the fall
Everybody,
guy. He,
yeah,
he
he's the
he he's the guy that has to make all the hard decisions now and gets
Mhm.
blamed for them, right? So
Right.
when things have to get shut down, or if they have to fire people for misconduct, that sort of thing, he's there as that fall guy, essentially, and it's
Mhm.
like he has to keep the grease on the skid so the deal goes through. So it's just part of the process in regards to that. And the thing is, it's weird because you know people can start a new studio tomorrow, right? Like you get where I'm going with that. So
Mhm.
Sony can start a new. I mean, it's harder to do than buy a pre-existing studio, but that's something that can be done. So I think this is going to go through. To be honest with you,
Right. No,
and I think it's a 1-2 punch. I think there's something else.
you know what? Okay, so somebody was
I
bringing
just
up
get
a point
that.
to me.
I mean, I don't have any rumor mill or anything like that. I just get this
Right.
feeling like Microsoft's really quiet about this because they want to make sure it all goes through, go through the
Oh
whole
yeah.
process, all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
But I think they have something else behind the scenes. Whatever it is, I don't know in regards to that. But I think there's something else down the road. So
Do you think it's uh certain assembly could be?
certain Infinity, you mean?
Infinity.
I don't
Assembly.
know because I thought certain Infinity was started by a bunch of people that left Bungie.
I don't know.
I
I
think they
don't
are.
know.
That's why they have this strong relationship with 343. Does that make sense?
Right.
In regards to, and they had a strong relationship with Bungie as well.
Mhm.
In regards to, I know there's some weird rumors going around, and I don't believe they're true. Is there's a lot of on their hiring pages everything in Unreal Engine 4
Mhm.
for hiring. As people are trying to speculate this new mode, or they're going to be switching Halo over to Unreal Engine. I don't think that's the case as much as I wish it would be in regards to
Oh
that.
my goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's for the whatever their new IP that they're working on internally in regards to that. So
Do you
yeah,
think it's do you think it's another I hope it is too. I hope it's another Halo Wars actually.
no, I don't think that's it.
Okay.
I think it's sometimes too people like certain studios. I worked at a studio that did this where they were experimenting a lot of ideas in Unity because a lot of the staff was more familiar with it.
Mhm.
But we got better results for what we were doing out of Unreal. So we take all that stuff that we basically would program, that we would code, the assets, and then we would port it over to Unreal, essentially. So it could be something along those lines where they're working on Unreal, testing some concepts, proof of concepts, and then porting it over in regards to that. So I'm not quite sure what they're doing over there, but yeah, they do have a strong relationship, and it's weird that announces our relationship's even stronger. Well, yeah, they did a whole new mode. Like, what do you mean by it being even stronger? Are they being swallowed up? We'll see. We'll see in regards to that. So
yeah, no, that's pretty interesting. But yeah, no, I wasn't even thinking about that because I'm only just thinking of a Dreamcast because so many of us think about the Dreamcast. But yeah, no, like that. Oh my goodness, that just
Sega
makes
Saturn, Sega CD,
Sega Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
That
and
would
then
be
they're talking about emulators and talking about preserving games. That's the quote from, or I should say, like a paraphrasing of Phil, right?
That's it right there, right?
Yeah.
And then just making sure that they have good relationships. Because now this things is coming to where now, like once you do that, you don't have to buy Sega. You could just if you have a good working relationship with Sega, the way that they're doing this now, then it is what it is. And you know what's another crazy thing? And I still do believe that it's still exclusive to Xbox, and that is the Phantasy Star Genesis. I don't think Phantasy Star is on anything else except for PC and Xbox.
I haven't followed on that game, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. But I know they have a strong relationship though with it. Yeah,
and I don't think that's on any other platform except for PC and Xbox.
That was hot for a little bit when they did the Xbox announcement, and then people forgot about it for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, Final Fantasy Online is taken off. Is kind of like just the new sensation, but there's still a lot of people playing Genesis. But that makes perfect sense because if you could do that, because just for what Nintendo is doing, and that made me sign on, get on board and renew another year with and my boy Cali Rex, he was like, oh, you can just do an emulator and get the games free. I said, I get that, but see, I don't know. I love emulators. I think emulators is amazing, but it's, to me, and this is just my thought. It still isn't as satisfying as playing that on my television through a console.
No, I mean it's streamlined use. You just turn it on, you hit the button, and it's good to go. There's something satisfying about that. So I got you.
Satisfying about that. So yeah, now. Of course, there's going to be some games that looks like complete the dog water. So hopefully,
let's address that.
Yeah,
let's address that. What is Microsoft's history with their emulators, with their own properties?
Oh yeah, they enhanced them.
Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't they do the same for Sega?
That's another good question.
So if they go that route, there's no doubt in my mind they would give it the same sort of treatment that they've given previous generation of Xbox treatment.
So they already, if I see Sarah Bond, she already announced today that that Assassin's Creed Origins and some other games from Ubisoft are going to be coming to Game Pass. I think we're going to get ready to get that announcement about Ubisoft coming to Game Pass at some point, maybe E3, because that would be an E3 type of announcement, or I should say Xbox event, since there is no E3. And then if you could go ahead and say that you got EA Play, Ubisoft, a package of Ubisoft games. And then you also have, on top of that, Sega bringing, announced that you got Sega Classics coming to Game Pass.
Yeah, you do that little spinning thing with where they show the disc, and now coming to Game Pass, over 100 some Sega titles coming on over. And then we're strengthening our relationship with Ubisoft in regards to that. So I could see some interesting announcements. Yeah, I see Burger Boy in there. I mean, I guess the question is when we're going to hear from Microsoft, because, well, E3 is dead.
This is the thing. I think Xbox. I think it's twofold. Like you just
It's
brought
like Xbox has to do their own show, right? Like,
yeah.
you know what I
Xbox.
mean?
So okay. So here's another question. But
Sony's got to do their own show and EA and all that sort of stuff. But when are we going to hear from these guys?
Right.
Is the
Well,
question.
okay. So I think Xbox is doing the twofold thing. They're waiting for Sony to release whatever that they're going to release because they're still gonna talk about Spartacus and then, or I should say, PSN Plus, and then there's supposed to be some kind of announcement. Now, there's been all types of announcements that it's from software that Sony's going to be picking up. From
That'd be a good get for them.
That would be a great get for them after me playing Elden Ring.
Mhm.
But you know what? It is what it is. What it is, and you know what I'm saying. And that's just a good grab. If that's true. But whatever that it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be big. So, so yeah. So we'll see. I don't think it's Square Enix. I think Square Enix like that bag too much.
Well, let's theorize. So Xbox has all these partnerships we're theorizing, right? Ubisoft. EA, well, they already have EA to some degree.
Right.
And then they have say, you know, the Sega partnership. You know, they don't have to hold their own E3s. You know, they're already on Xbox's stage.
That part is true.
Right. So then it becomes a question is when we're going to see here from Xbox and Sony and Nintendo. Nintendo's going to have, you know, I always forget about a little bit about Nintendo, but, you know, Nintendo's going to have some exclusive stuff coming their way. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Nintendo's going to be dropping their stuff listen, man, this is going to be very interesting because you know what? I know that Sega works with PlayStation, but I don't think that it'll ever be as tight as and other people will say, well, look at the Atlas games. Atlas was just already in Sony's bag before.
They just don't have the same cultivated relationship. Just kind of like Bethesda didn't have the same, you know, like they didn't have anything against Sony, right? Like,
but they
didn't hate their platform or anything like that. Like,
right.
You know, their money's green just like anyone else's, right? over there.
Right.
But they did have a stronger relationship with Microsoft. So when, you know, that partnership came about, like people weren't overly surprised. I mean, it's still shocking, but it wasn't like you can see the logic that led to that sort of partnership, right? And same thing with Sega. Like you can see that logic leading to that sort of relationship, whatever that relationship pans out being. So just like when he's talking about FromSoft, if it ever got bought up by Sony, you know, it's logical. People say they have a really strong relationship in that sense. So like, not surprised if it does happen. Still be shocking in regards to that, but you know, that's more or less where it's kind of at. You know, there's going to be a consolidation in gaming. It's interesting. People ramping up. So Sony's not playing around either. Like, to be honest with you, my question is, where does Nintendo end up in the next 4 or 5 years? Is because that landscape's changing, and they don't really change with the landscape all that much. So
I don't bet on Nintendo anymore. I don't bet against.
No, I'm not betting against them or anything like that. But I wonder when they're going to change their pattern. Does that make sense? Like when they're going to strengthen their relationships with other people. Like, I don't know if they're going to go third party or not.
Well, I mean, they have partnered with. I don't think they'll ever be tight with Sony because I think that
there's bad blood there.
There's bad blood there, and I think Sega still has some bad blood as well. But Sega's now they need Sony, so it's more they need Sony now because they're a publisher more than they are a console maker. So but yeah, Nintendo. No, and I can't bet against Nintendo anymore because after the Wii U situation, I thought that they were going to go the same way as Sega, but no, they found a new way. Their fan base, because look, I bought me 2 new Nintendo games, and three new Nintendo games, and shout out to Yobi. He didn't buy them for me, but
he bought the console for you.
Yeah, I bought the console.
I still haven't picked one up yet, to be honest.
Wow. And so And so, I was playing those games, and I finally got to Breath of the Wild, and I was playing, and I'm like, this game is really good. I said, but again, I think I have become a graphic whore. I think I've become that, and I'm still looking at it, and I'm like, this game looks good. This game feels great, man, if I could just see this thing in 4K just pushing and I kept going through that in my head, like, man, this thing is 60 frames per second, like, wow. And I'm just, and that to me is more the thing to
It's almost like
that,
they're at a point where like it doesn't look bad. I mean, they build
right.
around their hardware, but it's like
It's like,
it's missing the seasoning.
right,
You know what I
right.
mean?
That's why I was
It-
like, man, Nintendo, how about just throw some of your IPs on PC? Like, you know what I'm saying? I will gladly buy your games.
yeah.
It
It, it,
instantly.
it needs that 4K seasoning.
It needs that, yeah, it needs a little some spices, some
Yeah.
herbs and spices. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, it's like it's like unseasoned chicken right now. But
Yeah.
it is,
I mean, the chicken ain't dry, right? But
yeah,
it
right.
got no
It's
seasoning.
still, yeah, like it's juicy, but it needs some seasoning. And I'm just kind of like, but still, again, I'm just not gonna bet on it because their games just their exclusive just gravitate to that fan base,
Oh, they do.
and then also they're bringing in Game Boy games, and then I think Game Boy Color games are going to be added to that service. So that's just another thing to just get them to get on there. And besides that, they're really trying to find a way to push to get emulators out the way, or try to find a way to make money off of their emulators because there's so many people out there that's just kind of got hip to the game. It's like, okay, since y'all ain't going to make the games that I want, I'll just go ahead and I'll just pick them
Well,
up.
I
You
mean,
know what I'm saying?
that's how you affect piracy the best is,
Right.
which is you just make it easier to purchase than it is to pirate it, right? Like,
Mm,
if you just make it easier to obtain, then the path of least resistance is where the consumers end up going, majority of them, right? So,
yeah.
like someone goes, oh, I can get on PC, download the Nintendo basically emulator, right, and buy games through their storefront, say on my PC. That's going to prevent people from running the risk of malware and all other shit that comes with emulators, right? So you know everything becomes more legit, more backed by Nintendo themselves in regards to that. So it'd be
Right.
interesting, and I don't see them doing like overly amount of graphic settings, but I can see the native resolution being higher, and I can see things like maybe anti-aliasing be a little bit better and a little bit higher frame rate if they go that route. So we'll see. I mean, in regards to that, we'll see what happens with Nintendo, but things are going to be very interesting. The business models are going to change on Sony and Microsoft's platform pretty drastically in regards to that. So
Yeah. No, I totally agree. All right. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to I guess our last little point, and that will be hold on. Did I forget? I think I forgot. Oh no, I didn't forget. I got it. All right, here we go. Is these Sony leaks. Basically this was pretty interesting. Like, I mean, this was pretty robust. It came from this leaker. I'll go ahead and try to read this part right here. Um, okay, so this leaker says that God of War Ragnarok is coming to is going to be a swan song of the PlayStation 4. Pretty much, they're saying that this is most likely probably going to be the last PlayStation 4 game coming from Sony. Um,
I doubt
Sony
that.
themselves. I don't I, like I
I,
mean,
I think they're gonna continue to spend money to scale their games down for that console if they can. If it
because of
be,
the chip shortage.
yeah, it just people can't get new consoles. I mean, what it comes right down to it. So like, what's gonna keep these other consoles alive? It's actually not even a capability thing. Like people keep thinking the wrong frame set there, right? Because the only one that's gonna get sacrificed is the lesser power, not the more powerful console, right?
Mm,
It just comes down to how much time they want to spend reducing the content to make it fit and work on that particular performance profile. And it becomes more difficult with time, right? So if it's going to take, say, 2 or 3 months and I have access to X number of million players on that particular platform, that it might be worth it. But if those people that have owned that platform are no longer engaging in that platform on that, say, like the PlayStation 4 or the Pro anymore,
mhm.
then is it worth the investment to spend to port it over to that, and would I get my return? Is it becomes a question. So when that becomes, you're not going to get your return on your investment in those situations, to scaling it down, I think that's when they're going to start pulling the plug. And I think what's lengthened that whole, like, you got to scale it down sort of thing is the chip shortage. It is not getting hardware to the gamers in regards to that, even though that stuff's starting to level out now, which is awesome. But we're far from where we need to be, though.
Okay. All right. So it goes on, and it says Sony will not be releasing any cross-gen games first party after this point unless a developer desperately wants a PS4 port of their game, which is unlikely. From 2023 onward,
So you're saying third party?
Yeah, third party will still be doing PS4, but
they're saying Sony would limit that.
Yeah, that's what this.
Yeah, this has got fake written all over it.
Well, okay,
so Sony would never restrict that.
But hold on, let me finish this. The reason why I'm even reading because most leakers don't even.
Sometimes they put some fake stuff with some bit of truth. They'll do that.
But this dude has been pretty accurate about the stuff that he's been putting out for a while, and so that's why it caught my attention when I was looking at it. I was like, oh, okay. So, and then it goes forward. He says, he says PS4 ports for Demon Souls, Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart, and Deathloop, amongst others, have already been canned and are going to be dropped past this point. So, from what this person is saying is that they were thinking about putting these games on the PlayStation 4, but they decided to not to, which that would have been a really crazy situation because what I've been saying is that, look, Ratchet and Clank could definitely be played on the PlayStation 4, but whatever, that's a whole other discussion.
Oh, because they were making that hard drive argument,
right?
That's a silly argument because we've done stuff like that in gaming for quite a while now. Like you just have a bit of cache saved aside. That's all you need to do. So everything loaded and you can switch back and forth. RAM's faster, hard drives. Sorry, guys. That's harsh reality.
Right.
So
it is a harsh reality. PS4, it said games include Ragnarok, Rift Apart, Demon Souls, Forbidden West, GT7, Ghost of Tsushima, and the likes are all receiving PC ports. Guerrilla Games will handle Forbidden West. Iron Galaxy will port Uncharted to PC. Blind Squirrel Games and Jetpack Interactive are currently busy porting over Ratchet 2016 and Rift Apart to PC. Gran Turismo, their studio will be done by them. Bluepoint is bringing Demon Souls to PC. Nexus has been working on Ghost of Tsushima and its DLC for some time now. So, that just goes on about talking about, God of War Ragnarok will come to PC as well and all that. So that was said, and there was a PlayStation, somebody that was at a big wig PlayStation guy. I don't know who his name. I've got to look and find his name again because I did have it, but then I lost it for some reason. I don't know why I lost that. But anyway, he came and said that was a bunch of bullshit. That was it. He just said it. Like that's a bunch of bullshit. He says there's no games that's supposed to be slated to be coming to PC, and all the rest of it is just a bunch of garbage. He says not one thing is true. So this is what
neither one of those makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because as far as I understand, there could be more studios, but I know of at least. Right. I'm not going to spill the beans, but I at least know of 2 studios are porting PlayStation exclusive games to PC. That's kind of that's their main job.
I understand that they were going to be putting their games on PC, so I'm like,
yes, what? so they have, and now I'm sure there's certain people within Sony that don't know all the ins and outs of those sort of workings, and or just doesn't want to talk about those sort of things because it's not the right time or the right place. I get it. But the list of their studios, I can, and some of those I'm like, really? Those are ones they say are important? Maybe. I don't know. I haven't heard anything along those lines. But the thing they said is like, Sony's going to block third party from releasing games on the PlayStation 4. Bullshit. Bullshit. Sony has a history of like, you want to make a game like, on an older PlayStation, like, I mean, I don't know how long they were letting people still put games on PlayStation 2, like almost at the end of PlayStation 3 generation. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, I found it right here.
yeah.
His
So
name is Lance McDonald, and he says, "I know for a fact that one very a specific part of this leak is not true. Based on that, I'm happy to call bullshit on the whole thing." So,
maybe it's the part I'm talking about. Maybe,
right, right,
maybe that particular part, because because why would
yeah,
they do that? Because like, if they can cause it doesn't cost them anything for the most part to let third party make games on their older consoles,
hmm,
right? They're just like, cool, more money. Like, it could be $10, it can be a million,
yeah.
right? Like, they're not going to stop that from happening. So that's just, I don't see that being a situation. So that part seems a little weird. Is Thor Ragnarok eventually going to be on PC? There's no doubt in my mind it will be.
There's no doubt. Yeah, I mean,
But do I think it's going to be out within the same year as Ragnarok dropping on the PlayStation? I doubt that. And it's not even under a royal like loyalty. Like, it's like, okay, they have to release it with their console. They have to get their product out there, right?
mhm.
And they don't make the games to scale like other developers, essentially, right? So they're going to have a port house basically port it over to the PC to all the different performance profiles and make it more scalable in regards to that. But it will come. I just don't know when. In regards to that. I would be shocked. I mean, I would be really shocked if day and date Sony releases a game and it's also available on PC the same day. Like, I would be surprised.
Yeah. No, I don't see that happening for a very long time.
Yeah, they'll
I've
get there.
argued the point of yeah, I've argued the point that it makes sense for them to do it, but no, I mean, I think that they're going to still kind of hold off for a while. Um,
I don't even think it's holding off. They're not going to put the resources until they get the one project done, and then
right,
they go over to the other. I mean, that's how I look at it. So, um, yeah, this doesn't seem right in a
No,
whole lot of ways. Yeah.
I think both of them are a little far fetched. I do think that the PC games are definitely. Do think that those PlayStation games are going to be coming to PC.
I,
But
I think almost every first party
right,
game that you're going to see released on PS5
yeah.
eventually will get on PC.
Yeah. Now he didn't mention The Last of Us 2 or Spider-Man. So Sony could definitely hold off, but I don't see why, because Spider-Man would rake on PC. Last of Us 2 would rake on PC. So
See, I wonder
uh
if Spider-Man, there's some weird licensing rights with that.
you're right, because
Because
that's not Sony's right to do that. It's Disney's.
well, it depends. It depends on the contract, right?
Well, yeah.
So
No, like,
there's some things
Sony,
we don't know,
right,
but there's some
right.
possibility, like, hey, like, we want to release it on PC, but you have to get permission from them because the original contract was exclusively on their platform, right?
Right.
And then,
Mhm.
and if they do port it over, does Sony even get any of the money if they do that, because they have to get the permission? Like, there's so many ways contracts can be written up on that sort of stuff. I just don't know what the situation is on that.
Mhm.
But I would say that would make sense why you're not seeing it as a possible rumor, is because it's just a more complicated situation versus an IP that Sony owns outright. Like Last of Us, it's their
Right.
game. They can do whatever the hell they want with it. They can release. I'm not saying they would do this. They can release it on Xbox if they wanted to.
Right.
That's up to them. So
Mhm. Right. And then of course, uh a lot of people talking about where's Bloodborne, but that until these rumors are true that they're Sony's acquiring from software, then that's up to
yeah,
from
I don't.
software.
Yeah,
So
that could be one of those complicated situations too. The same sort of
right,
thing, right?
like
So,
Sony probably bought the IP, but they don't probably fully own all the
but they may
rights
own
whatever
the
they want.
publishing rights on this particular.
Right.
It's kind of like when I always refer to this like Mass Effect, right? Mass Effect 1, Microsoft owned the publishing rights. So Microsoft had the release, even though EA had the rights to make sequels, right? in order to get the first one on other platforms, they had to get permission from Xbox. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In regards, because it was a publishing rights situation. So it's interesting. So we'll see how it goes. Anything that's owned by Sony directly, like straight up outright, it's their own IP, their own studio. It's going to come over to PC. I don't know what the time frame is. When that well-oiled machine will come in full fruition, but we're going to get it. In regards to that, so
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So
yeah,
I'll be copying. I sit there and I got I seen that they had the one version for Death Stranding with the pew pew, and I said, okay, all right, I'll copy it. But I got it.
I got Days Gone. I got
$17. So I was like, let's go. Let's do it.
we can get Days Gone right now. You can get God of War, and you can get I don't know why Horizon. And so
yeah, I'm waiting for the Uncharted collection, so I can go ahead and I cop that on PC. So
yeah, I mean that's not on yet. Oh, that's eventually going to show up. There's no doubt about that. So that's going to be an interesting one for sure.
Yep. So all right, well, good night. We did it. We got it. We got through it. I'm pleased. We got through everything that we was going to talk about, and we got full detail about Halo, of course, as always, because I
try to avoid talking about Halo because I just get depressed.
Oh,
I just get depressed eventually, and we just end up talking about it forever. Nothing gets done.
I know, yeah, but I mean, I think we made a lot of great points, especially at the end of it when we were, saying when they should. I mean, it's too late. It's a far gone conclusion now because, of course,
the cat's already out of the bag. They can't do anything about it.
But I mean, gotta deal with it the way we deal with it. But anyway, where can they find you at, Don?
You can follow me on Twitch, the Don_KTR. I believe that's also my Twitter handle. And usually the best thing to do is follow me on Twitter because then you can see when I'm dropping YouTube content because I am doing YouTube content. I was actually working on that just prior to the podcast, and I plan on dropping it before the month is done and over with. And then I also have a YouTube dedicated streaming channel, which is Dawn Gaming Live. So if you prefer watching streaming content over just your standard YouTube content or in regards to basically live streaming content, you can find me there when I'm gaming. Usually I'm playing with this guy when he's not stuck playing Elder Ring for 6 months. So in regards to that, and we try to I'm going to try to get the community a little bit more involved, get back to the basics, less talking about games and more playing games. So
facts, let's do that. As for me, you'll catch me on tomorrow night on the next podcast with Xbox 448 on his channel. Friday night, the GRG podcast, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, 2 a.m. GMT time. And then and it's crazy because I think Australian time is GMT too, but it's 10 o'clock, like 10 a.m. or something like that. It's 10 or 11 a.m. out there. So I don't know. I get confused about that. That's why I don't really talk about the overseas thing a lot, but I just did. So, okay. That Fight Night Sunday, we'll be back again next Sunday. I will play some more Street Fighter and try to reclaim to get my stuff back, man. I have been... for the last, I was gone from doing Fight Night for about a couple of weeks, but the episode before that, I was getting my ass destroyed like that whole night. I didn't win, but only like 2 matches, and then I was having internet issues because they kept doing those checks, and so I was getting really, really frustrated. So I got to come back and I got to get Beast on again so we could go ahead and get that Soul Calibur and Tekken popping off again. Fight Night Sunday, every Sunday night, 10 p.m. I am getting ready to start the new podcast here this month, here shortly. That will probably be on Sunday evenings. So it's the RRP podcast. Man.
Is that going to be on K Mega 405 channel?
That's going to be on the K Mega 405 channel. Yes, it is. I'm not running from it. So come and check us out. And other than that, like, yeah, I'll drop a video every once in a while, but yeah, I'll just be streaming on I'll be back on my streaming kick because I'm done with Elden Ring. And so I'll be back on my multiplayer games and stuff. So you'll catch me on the weekends if I'm not going somewhere, playing with Don and them.
We'll try out season 2 when it comes out.
Yeah, we'll definitely be doing
we'll
that.
try that out.
So yeah, the scroll is done. I hope you guys come and check us out tomorrow night on the next podcast, 7 p.m. Central on Xbox 448's channel. All right, guys, thank you so much. It was a pleasure as always, Don, and I will do this again the week after next.
Yeah, we'll get it all sorted out. I'm gonna hit I'm hitting the buttons.
Hit the buttons. Peace.